Hello, everyone. Hope you are well. Oh, what did I just do here? There we go. Okay. Got an article here I think is interesting. You guys are going to enjoy this. Romney, so Mitt Romney, child payment proposal would spend more than the Biden plan, but also aims to cut welfare programs. So the first thing that came to mind when I saw this is on CNBC, is Milton Friedman's UBI or what did he call it? I forgot what Friedman called it, but it was people have called it UBI in the past. Of course, Andrew Yang became popular with this policy that would give everyone a check in the mail, and he claimed that he was just piggybacking on Milton Friedman's idea. Of course, the main difference there, which was crucial, is that Friedman's idea, I think he called it a negative income tax, I think, if my memory serves me right. But Friedman's idea would, yes, be to give everyone a check, but also to eliminate welfare, eliminate the whole thing. So you're reducing the size of government. What Yang did is he say, well, you can choose. You can either choose the universal basic income or you can choose welfare. So he's not getting rid of the welfare system. So in a sense, he's not decreasing the size of government. He is increasing the size of government because now you have both the welfare system and the UBI system. So it would do the opposite of what Milton Friedman intended. And that's why when Yang came out with that, I wasn't a big fan. And I was really upset, let's say. In fact, I was pissed at the way he was marketing it to the public because I felt as though he was knowingly duping people into believing that his plan was somehow similar to Friedman's, and it was the complete opposite. But anyway, that's the first thing that I thought of here. So I get it that Mitt Romney wants to give away more goodies, but I wanted to go through the article and say, okay, well, maybe he is reducing government so much that it could be worth it on net balance. Let's be fair and do a cost benefit analysis here. So the main highlights, first off, Romney's plan would provide monthly cash payments of $350 for a child under 6 and $250 per month I see. Let me do this again here. I got mixed up. Romney's plan would provide monthly cash payments of $350 for each child under the age of 6 and $250 a month, or $3,000 a year for 6-year-old and up until the kid turns 18. Families would become eligible 4 months before each child's due date, meaning the household would receive $1,400 before the kid is born. So this is what I'd like to see some more details on. As part of his plan, the Utah Republican would scrap temporary assistance for needy families, the Child and Dependent Care Credit, and the state and local tax SALT deduction. So, okay, if we're scrapping this entire portion of government and replacing it with something more efficient, although I'd like to replace it with nothing. Again, doing a cost-benefit analysis, I think this may have some merit, but we need to dig deeper and see what the details are. Romney touted the plan on Thursday, saying it would lift nearly 3 million children from poverty without adding to the deficit. Okay, and this is something I wanted to highlight because so many politicians do this, and they do this in the media all the time. They just assume that if we throw money at a problem, it's fixed. Boom, done. You just wave the magic money wand, and all of a sudden, no more problems. So just like kids going to college, well, let's just throw some money at it and we'll fix the problem. Did that fix the problem? Or did it make it worse? And I did a video today on the Keynesian idea of aggregate demand. So that the aggregate demand and supply curve, which aren't curves, they're straight lines. But when that changes and you have a reduction in aggregate demand, well, easy. We just throw some money at it. Just print money and increase aggregate demand, problem solved. But my point is, most often when you just throw money at something, it doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse because of the unintended consequences. So here is when some progressive think tanks say that it might be a good idea, as well as some conservative think tanks. So it's kind of bipartisan, which means that sooner or later we're going to get something like this. Unfortunately, I think the compromise that Romney or the people who promote this plan, the politicians, are going to make is that they'll say, okay, let's give away the goodies, but let's not decrease the size of government. So what will end up happening is we do increase the deficit and we do increase the size of government, and we're just giving people more money that distorts the economy even further and creates all of these incentives that are against and counter to the original intention. Let me dive a little deeper into that here. So based on the benefit design alone, it's clear that Romney's proposal, due to its generosity and administrative simplicity, is an improvement on the Biden proposal. So you see, it's again, the societal narrative and the political narrative is the only difference between giving people X and giving people Y is just how generous you feel. And if we don't give people more, then that just means that we're being stingy and we're not being generous, as if there is no downside whatsoever to the government creating more treasuries to pay for this, the Fed monetizing the debt, creating more currency units in the real economy, or there's no downside to the type of incentives this may create, which is what we get into the next paragraph. Brunig, which is the guy that looks like heads up the progressive think tank, found that the lifetime benefit per child would be $57,600 under Biden's plan, compared to $62,600 under Romney's plan. The child tax credit, as it is, provides a lifetime benefit of $34,000 per child. So let's think about this. Currently, we're paying people, potentially single mothers, $34,000 to have a kid. Okay, and I understand that that can put food on the table and a lot of that is needed, but does it create a perverse incentive to have more kids than you otherwise would and pretty much solidify your place in a welfare system for the rest of your life, and most likely for the rest of your child's life, because then they learn that mentality from you? And if there are some people who make those choices, let's say, which, by the way, in my real estate days dealing with Section 8 housing, I saw these people constantly. They would have 5, 6 kids on purpose just to collect more benefits from the state. So if those people are collecting $34,000 now, how many more kids would they have if the benefits double almost and go up to $62,000? You see? Again, I get it. This could help some people in need, but it also has unintended consequences we need to think through. We don't just throw money at the problem and boom, It's solved. It's not the way it works. And what I would also argue is, why are these kids poor? Like, why are the parents in poverty? Is it simply because of money? Or is it because most of these kids are being raised in a single family household? Is it because we no longer see the need for the nuclear family? In fact, we demonize, a lot of the people on the left especially, demonize the nuclear family. I don't want to get into single mothers. I was raised by a single mother. I have tremendous respect for single moms. But the bottom line is that if you look at the statistics for kids raised by a single mother, and I would imagine by a single parent, the probability of them doing well in life is dramatically reduced. You look at the incarceration rate in jail and prison, and you look at how many of those individuals come from a family where the father is just not involved or not present. Okay, it's a astronomical percentage. I don't know it right off the top of my head, but I would guess 80, 90% potentially. And so the question I would ask is this incentivizing, or will this be creating more single family households in the future with even more kids as a result of the incentive structure it's creating? And it kind of proves my point to a certain degree in this next sentence. The calls for upping aid to families with children come as the U.S. wrestles with a child poverty rate well above the average for wealthy countries. Okay. So, without asking the question why, is this because we just give people less money? Or is it because our divorce rate is higher and we have far more single parents raising kids? Or maybe in addition to that, do we have fewer kids being raised in a household where they've got a strong father figure? And are we paying people even more money? So as an example, maybe country XYZ that they're comparing us to only pays the parents $10,000 for the lifetime, where we're paying them $34,000. So because we have a greater incentive, a monetary incentive to have more children, is that increasing the child poverty rate that we have? And could that be one of the factors? I'm sure there's many, but one of the factors that go into the United States having a much higher rate than other wealthy countries. So my point with going over this is number one, let's do a cost benefit analysis on this. Let's not just consider the benefits, but let's look at the costs. Let's make sure that this is reducing the size of government, not increasing it. Let's dig deeper. And then toward the tail end here, let's remember that it's not as simple as just throwing money at a problem. We've got to dig beneath the surface to really understand the core issue, to determine whether or not our perceived solution is making the problem better or exacerbating the problem.